In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Good morning, everyone. Now we are going to deal with our new program for mathematics department in Tabarak Private School with you, teacher Mohammed Albadry, with grade 11 mathematics teachers, and we are going to deal with the lesson of the sum to infinity. And before everything, we have to say big thanks for the chairman, Mr. Yunus Al-Rahbi. Now we are going to start with our new lesson, the sum to infinite.
How are you, my dear students? I am Mr. Mohammed Albadry, teaching grade 11 bilingual. Welcome to our private school, Tabarak. From our educational platform, we have to thank our chairman, Mr. Yunus, who gives us this wonderful opportunity to contact with our dear students. And our lesson today is talking about algebraic identities and how could we solve the algebraic identities. And we have to know general idea what is the identity. The identity is like any equation, have a balance between the right side and the left side, and he will give us some questions to know how could we find variables of a, b, and c and d. And if we want to do it, we have to know some basics about how could we expand the binomial power of 2. So for the first example here, exercise 1, if 2x squared minus 22x plus 53 equals a times x minus 5 times x minus 3 plus b times x minus 3 times x plus 2 plus c times x plus 2 times x minus 5. Find the values of a, b, and c. To find the values of a, b, and c, we have to first know what is the zeros of the factors. For the right side here, we have brackets. These brackets, each one of them, we can say about it, it's a factor. And if you want to find the zeros of the factors, we have to take in any brackets we have and make it equal to 0 to find the value of x for the right side. So here, if we see the right side, we will see that we have 3 different brackets. The first is x minus 5, the second is x minus 3, and the third is x plus 2. So the 0 of each one, if we want to know it, for x minus 5, the 0 is 5, because if we substitute with 5 for the first brackets, we will have a value of 0. So we will substitute with x equals to 5, and for the second, x minus 3, the 0 is 3, and for the third, x plus 2, the 0 is minus 2. If you want to solve it now to find any value for the answer, firstly we have to put x equals to 5 in both sides. So like what we have here, if we replace x with 5, so we will have it 2 times 5 square minus 22 times 5 plus 53. Here we have the left side. And for the right side, we will have a times 5 minus 5 times 5 minus 3. We will cancel a because we will have 0. And we have b times 5 minus 3 times 5 plus 2. We will not cancel it because we don't have any 0 here. And we have c times x plus 2, it will be 5 plus 2, and x minus 5, it will be 5 minus 5. We will cancel c because we will have 5 minus 5. After cancelling a and c, we will have minus 7 for the left side equals 14b. Divided by 14 divided by 14, so b equals minus half. Here for the value of b. Now we are going to substitute the value of x equals to 3. We will have it 2 times 3 squared minus 22 times 3 plus 53 equals a times 3 minus 5 times 3 minus 3. Here we have 3 minus 3, so we will cancel a because we will have a 0. Plus b times 3 minus 3 times 3 plus 2. We will cancel also b because we have 3 minus 3. Plus c times 3 plus 2 times 3 minus 5, so we will have a c, a value for c. So we will have it for the left side. For the left side here we will have 5, and for the right side we will have minus 10c. 5 over minus 10 equals minus 10 over c minus divided by minus 10, so c equals minus half. So now here we find b and c. How could we find now the value of a? By substituting with the third 0, which is negative half. With the same steps, we are going to cancel b and c to find a. Like what we did it before, we have to substitute the value of x with negative half. It will be 2 times negative half square minus 22 times negative half plus 53 equals a times negative half minus 5 times negative half minus 3. We will have a value of a. We don't have any zeros. For b and c we will have zeros, so we will cancel it. It becomes 105 equal to 35a divided by 35 divided by 35. We will have a equal 3. So the values of a equal 3, b equal negative half, and c equals negative half. Now for exercise 2, how could we find the values of a, b, and c like what we have? If 5x squared plus 7x plus 9 equals a times x plus 1 squared plus b times x plus 1 plus c. Find the values of a, b, and c. How could we find it? Here we have only 1 0. If we put x equals to minus 1, like what we have on the right side, here we have a bracket, we have a factor of x plus 1. So if we substitute with x minus 1, we are going only to find the value of c. But if we want to find it, we have to expand the bracket. By expanding the brackets here, we have to remember that the expansion of a plus or minus b squared equals a squared plus or minus 2ab plus b squared. So we will need it. So for the left side, we will have it as it is without any modifications. And for the right side, we have x plus 1 square. We are going to apply the rule. Becomes ax squared plus 2ax plus a. And for b times x plus 1, we are going to multiply b by each term inside the bracket. So it becomes bx plus b, and c is a constant without any modification. Now we are going to collect the like terms. For the right side, we will have ax squared as it is without any modification, and we have two terms contains x, 2ax and bx. We are going to collect it in one bracket. Becomes 2a plus b times x. And for a, b, and c, these are constants, so a plus b plus c. And now by equating coefficients, we have ax squared plus equals to 5x squared. Now we are going to cancel x squared by x squared, or divide each term by x squared. We will have a equals 5. Here for the x squared, but what about the x? We have to equate the coefficients of x. 7x, it will be equals to 2a plus b times x divided by x. Each term here, each side here divided by x, so it becomes 7 equals 2a plus b. Substitute the value of a equals 5, because here we just find it. A equals to 5 becomes 7 equals 2 times 5 plus b. It becomes 7 equals 10 plus b, so b equals negative 3. And for the third term here, it will be a plus b plus c equals to 9. So we just find it a and b. We are going to substitute it. Becomes 5 minus 3 plus c. 5 minus 3 equals 2. If we move it to the other side, it will be 9 minus 2 equals 7. So the values of a, b, and c are 5, negative 3, and 7 respectively. And now we are going to take example 3. If x squared plus 1 equals a times x minus 2 squared plus b times x minus 2 plus c. Find the values of a, b, and c. So now we are going to do the same steps for what we just did it in exercise 2. Why? Because here we have the same factor. So the same factor here, if we want to find it, becomes by expanding the brackets here using the same rule of a plus or minus b squared equals 2a squared plus or minus 2ab plus b squared. By expanding the brackets to do it, we have to expand x minus 2 squared. On the right side becomes ax squared minus 4ax plus 4a. And for p times x minus 2, we are going to multiply b by each term inside the bracket, becomes bx minus 2b. And c as it is. Now we are going to collect the like terms. For x squared, we don't have any like terms. And for x here, we will have it minus 4a plus b times x. And for the constants, here we will have 4a minus 2b plus c. Now we are going to equating the coefficients. Yes, so here we have ax squared equals to x. And by dividing x squared each term, here we will have a equals to 1. And for the second, equating coefficients for x. On the left side we don't have x, so we are going to equating by 0 because we don't have any x's. So it will be minus 4a plus b equals to 0 directly by substituting the value of a equals to 1, so it becomes minus 4 times 1 plus b equals to 0, so b equals 4. For the third, here the constants for a minus 2b plus c, it will be equals to 1. And we have the value of a equals to 1, we are going to substitute it. And the value of b equals to 4, again we are going to substitute it. So it becomes 4 minus 8 equals minus 4. So c minus 4 equals to 1. And now c equals to 5. We just find the values of a equals to 1, b equals 4, and c equals 5. Now for exercise 4, if negative 4x squared plus 3x plus 1 equals a times x minus b squared plus c, find the values of a, b, and c. So for this exercise here, if we emphasize the right side here, we are just find it as a completing square form. What is the completing square form? If you remember, we studied in the first semester how could we convert any quadratic expressions to completing square form like what we have on the right side. And now for the answer here, we are going to use the completing square method. On the left side here we have minus 4x squared plus 3x plus 1. How could we do it? We have a coefficient of x squared is negative 4, so we are going to take this negative 4 from the first and the second terms only as a common factor. So if we take it as a common factor from the first and the second terms, becomes negative 4 times. We are going to divide the first and the second terms only by negative 4. So if we divide the first term negative 4x squared by negative 4, we will have it x squared like what we have inside the bracket in the second line. And if we divide it plus 3x by negative 4, we will have it negative 3 over 4x. And the constant 1, we are going to write it as it is but outside the brackets. Now here, how could we complete this? If you want to do it here, we know that we have to add something. We have to make a modification for it to convert it to completing square. Like what we studied, we have to do small rule, which is root sine root. Again, how could we do it here for root sine root? We have negative 4 times x squared minus 3 over 4x, yes, plus 1 4. To complete it, to convert it to completing square method, we are going to take a square root for x squared becomes x. And the sign is negative, we are going to put it as a negative. But what about the second term. We are going to put it as negative 3 over 8. And outside it will be plus 1 plus 9 over 64 times 4. And if we simplify, it will be negative 4 times x minus 3 over 8 squared plus 25 over 16. So it will be a times x minus b squared plus c. So we will have a equals negative 4, b equals 3 over 8, and c equals 25 over 16. And if you want to make quick revision for the completing square method, you have to make a revision for the first semester, because we just studied in the first semester. And now for the next sheet here, we have to thank you for your listening, and we are going to say for you goodbye.
Thank you for listening for our explaining, and I hope you enjoy with us. And the homework, you can find it in the model and in your contact number in the WhatsApp and on the model. Thank you very much.